so tight. It don't seem so right. Only you, when I really got nothing to do, coming through. Only you, when I look at your eyes on the blue, let me do. Only change, when I feel that you make me see love is free. Don't push me aside, don't leave me to die. Yeah, hold me so tight. It don't seem so right. Don't push me aside. Don't leave me to die. Yeah, hold me so tight. It don't seem so right. Don't push me aside. Don't leave me to die. Yeah, hold me so tight. It don't seem so right. Don't push me aside. Don't leave me to die. Yeah, hold me so tight. It don't seem so right.
You see, the world has changed. You don't need to sell
Hey everybody. I really hope that I haven't been silent for this whole time. That'd be pretty funny. But I'm hoping you can hear me now. That is so funny. I hope that you guys could hear me that whole time. I doubt it at this point. But you can always find new ways to surprise yourself. Gargoyle, I'm so sorry that that you had to discover me so silently, but here's what I'm working on. Oh my God, Lord, Johnny, I've been saying the most insightful things to you. Specifically, you should have heard all the insightful things I said to Johnny earlier. Oh my gosh, I had a whole discourse with you, Johnny, and now I realize you didn't hear any of it, and I'm laughing. You know what I think it is? I think that some of the controls on my tablet had sort of a secondary effect and kicked off one of my audio from the live stream. That's hilarious. Anyway, Gargoyle, thanks for speaking up. I mean, I gave you the hashtag eggplant and everything. Yeah, this is not supposed to be silent. This is just me doing sort of like excavation on a particularly interesting page of Tales of Zero where everything overlaps. So the challenge is to create definition between all the figures, even though everything overlaps with everything else. And this is just the rough page, but I'm sort of starting to carve out little, I guess you could still call this an underpainting, where I'm using the shades to define different areas of light and shadow before the real line work is going to go on. So that's what I'm doing. It's just I'm defining things with big shapes. I'm pretty happy with this. This is where your eye's going to go right away because you're seeing everything through his perspective. He's super excited to go on this adventure, and then everything else is sort of through his eyes. He's asking Zero. Zero is telling him what it's going to be like when they open the door. He's waiting to get the go-ahead. Asilo is thinking about it, and then finally, yes, they get the go-ahead. So if you can imagine that this is just the underpainting that I'm working on now. It's coming along. Let's see, anything else you want to talk about? Apex, it's good to have you with us. Gargoyle, thank you so much. I hope you guys saw Elliot Rodriguez on Pete's stream. He was great, putting his stuff up for critique with Rob Geronimo and Pete. He's just an amazing guy. I love Elliot. I think more and more people are going to see how good he is too. Well, that is funny. Johnny, let me try if I think about what I was saying to you earlier. Okay, this is funny. Johnny, you probably didn't hear me say this. Johnny said to me when I was working on this face here. Let me get in on it. Johnny said to me, I like the way you draw faces. And I said to Johnny, although he didn't hear me, yeah, thank you. You're so nice, but I didn't draw this face. So the pencils and all the line work in the main book of Tales of Zero is by an artist named Matt Queen. And he lives in Seattle, and he's just an awesome guy and an incredible artist. I mean, I would like to sit down and draw a face like that. It's just so perfect and expressive. So he has been called away by the Illuminati to help them build, I think it's a moon base on the dark side of the moon or something. So he got pulled into a big project, and he wasn't able to finish the book with me, but he gave me his blessing. He said, go for it, man. Take everything I did and just finish it. So I'm going to finish it. And when he gets back from the moon, he'll be proud of me, I'm sure. Though his own ink work is so stunning that mine is just more like the B-movie version. But that's okay, because that's the vibe we're going for. And anyway, so yeah, Matt Queen is the guy who did these pencils, and they're fantastic. Well, when we first started working together, his type of hatching and rendering, and then my type of like pastels and chalk color, I think they really work together. So we did these really rough pages where we just threw everything down to make sure we had the storytelling right. And so, yeah, you see, I'm going to keep a lot of the kind of chalk look of how the color works under the lines. I kind of like it, but I'm just going to clean up all the details and make it look like a finished page. But a lot of this overlapping stuff I kind of like. I like some of the grit. So yeah, wow, you guys, thanks for joining my stream. This was a silent stream, and it didn't mean to be. Oh, you know what? I played the best music video earlier too, but that's probably the sound was probably on for that. All right, so right now I'm working on Silo here, working on his arm, working on his little tilt of the head. Kind of doing this combination of cell shading and leaving some of the hatching visible. So that's what I'm working on right now. Apex, anything you want to share with the folks that you're working on? You're welcome to come on and chat with me. Anybody who would like to come on can chat live. But this is just a close-up on Silo. I'm going to be working on this. Doing inks with the tablet is it's a little bit hit or miss for me, because you know you rely on muscle memory. Like you swing your arm up in a direction and you know what that's going to feel like on the piece of paper. But on the computer monitor, it isn't always what you think it's going to be. You know, you end up being like, whoa, you get off track. It's kind of scary. I feel like I know where that line was supposed to go. But, you know, I'm having fun. We're just finishing. These are just finishes. It's in many ways, the pencils are the line work, and I'm just adding the finishes, both in terms of texture and in definitions. So it would hardly be called inking in the traditional sense of the word. Just adding the definition. There we go. That's pretty good. Under the neck, back of the piece of clothing, maybe some hatching here to just push that back. There we go, get it somewhere. And then I've got to take this color and bring it in on the color layer. Take the color of Rick's vest and bring it in here to define his face. See that? There we go. That will give the definition we need for his face. Let's back that off and see. Yeah, when I clean up the top, it'll get a little nick there that I can clean up. Let's see if I can take care of that right here. There we go. So they meet in this first tableau. Our three heroes meet in this, you know, futuristic nightclub on the mining colony. And if you're in the nightclub, everything looks really fancy and high tech, you know. And they have gambling, and they have like music videos and karaoke. They have all this high tech stuff. So that's why you see all these things behind them advertising what you can do. But the reason they have all those time wasters is because these people who live here, these high-tech citizens, are literally just stranded on a rock in space. There's no way home for them. So the corporation that built the mining colony just wants to keep them all busy and distracted, you know, before they realize that, you know, after the last shipment, there's no guarantee that anyone's ever coming back for them. And I think that some of them have figured that out, and some of them have not figured that out. And Rick is a kid, you know, who grew up on the mining colony. He's like, you know, in his early 20s, and he is different than the other kids. He wants to go outside. He wants to get dirty. He wants to see the real world. Where everybody else is pretty content to just stay inside and play video games. So I actually invented the character of Rick because I know, Johnny, this whole time you thought that I could draw this good. I mean, you're too kind. I mean, I do draw on stream, you know, obviously, but you know, Matt is somebody really special, and really awesome. I'm really honored that we were able to pull this together. It was about a year of collaboration between him and me, just doing, you know, a page a week, 2 pages this week, 3 pages this week. I would do the layouts, he'd draw them, I color them, we go back and forth, we make changes. So I'm really proud of the way it all did eventually come together. I think I'm actually, oh, that looks terrible. I'm actually gonna give his eyes the tiniest bit of a white too. Again, it's a small thing. When you see this on the full page, it won't even, some of this won't be visible, but I'm going to give this little dash of white right there. There we go. See that? Even here. in here. That just gives his eyes a little bit when you pull back. That's too much, actually. See how that works. Yeah, this eye was fine. But now we see that there's a rendering issue here. See that white spot? That's what it is. That white spot right there doesn't make any sense at all. That's not anything I did, so we're going to have to fill that in and then do it again. Let's try that. There we go. That's better. Oh, too much. So anyway, yeah, Johnny, so yeah, Matt Queen is the artist whose pencils you're seeing, and then I'm the person just adding all the texture, grit, and other qualities to it. I kind of picture it like this, that I wrote the script, I did the storyboards. Matt was like the cameraman who actually filmed it, right? But I'm the person who did lighting and editing, right? So a lot of times when I'm coloring, I just think about it like a movie and like, where's the light coming from? And that's it, just light the shot. So here in this nightclub scene, everything is pastel, pink, and tan, and this weird sick orange. I kind of think of the colors you see in hospitals. You know, it's like the inside of the mining colony is like super hygienic. So everything's like a hospital, you know, it's like, come and have fun. And you go to the nightclub and it looks like this. It's not dark, it's not greasy, it's really clean, and everything's really orderly. Oh, this is fun. Where Zero and Silo are dirty and they just don't fit in at all. And then Rick kind of wants to be dirty. He's like, yeah, I want to get outside. I want to see something. I want to make something happen. So this is the look of triumph when he realizes that he's gonna get away with something that none of his peers are gonna get away with. He's actually gonna go outside and get dirty. You know, actually play in the mud, which none of the other kids ever got to do and never wanted to do because they were happy with the life on the colony. So there you go. Thinking about when and if I'm going to get into his hair tonight. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll work on this one. Work on this one a little bit. This is like a quintessentially good face, I think, because there's only a few lines to it, right? So anything I do to this face, I'm either going to amplify what's there or ruin it. So no pressure. No pressure at all. That's pretty good. Whoop, that one isn't. There we go. Under the lip. There you go. So see, all I'm trying to do is just define what Matt already put there. Just make it a little more defined. Actually, I think I got away with that. That came off pretty well. Now let's see if I can really add border here. Why does it seem like it's not as opaque as I want it to be? Well, there we go. Whoop. Whoop. The thing about it, again, I keep repeating myself, but it's like you learn to draw, you learn where your angles are, and then you get this digital tablet and you're trying to look at the screen and you're like, wow, none of my angles work. It can be really startling, you know? You feel like you're drunk or something when you go to look down the line and it isn't where you feel your pencil is in space. There we go. Hope you guys are thinking I'm doing all right. It's actually coming out pretty good. Then pull it back and see how it looks. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty good. Now I'm going to need to add equal definition to the vest. Everything got very fuzzy on the lines of the vest, so this is going to have to get a lot more defined to frame the face, like so. Here too, like so. There we go. Popping through the hair. Let's pull back and see. Yeah, pretty good. There's a light spot here that seems a little off right on his lips, so we're going to get into that. Let me take a little of this red color. little more into the red. See if we can fill in this little missing piece here. Something's missing right here. And you only see it when you're far away. Let's see if yeah, getting it. I think we can actually lose a little bit of this altogether. See if that helps. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll just add, like, not full white, but just a tiny white of the eyes here. Just give that little glint. And right in here. Right in here. I'll pull back. Pretty good. But there's still a definition I'm missing right there at the top of the eye, though. Right here, this is kind of, there we go. I think that's what I was missing. Yeah, that's better. I think I need to close this, the little line there that shows where the side of the eyeball is. There we go. And then maybe finally link up this line a little bit. Like that. Yeah, there we go. Well, that definitely improved it, but again, it's painstaking. So you don't want to, I don't want to cover up anything that was so fluid and loose than that had done. It's not that. Oops. All right, let's leave that alone. Making progress on these two faces, these three faces. Maybe get into one more. Yeah, you're worrying about your sound, Johnny. That is so funny. All right, maybe I'll take a break from doing this and talk about something else for a little bit, because I've been hunched over this drawing pad for a while. But I like this page. I'll say something else about the composition of this page. The reason I created the character of Rick is the original story that was my inspiration. You had the Asilo character and the Zero character, and they met up in the tavern, and Zero had the great idea to, after they drank a lot of pomegranate wine, to go into the outer jungle and break into this ruin of the ancient city and steal the artifact. So those story beats are all the same, but I created the character of Rick to be the quintessential sort of treasure island character, where you have to have like the young, fresh-faced kid who's seeing everything for the first time, and that way the reader is seeing everything for the first time. So exactly. So when Rick is having things explained to him, you, the reader, are having things explained to him. And then when they convince Rick to go out into the jungle with them, they're also convincing you. But Rick has knowledge that they don't have. Rick knows the technology. He knows that a lot of the records of what happened out in the jungle 30 years earlier were falsified. So he's not helpless. He has knowledge that they don't have. And also he has money. So he is able to buy all the equipment that they need to do this expedition. So, he does have a substantial part to play in the story, but that was my original inclination to create him, was to create the character that the audience could identify with. And I think him and his dog, they really add something to the story that isn't in the original. And also the way I changed Zero's persona. So Satampra Zeros is the name of Clark Ashton Smith's character, and he's sort of more like a quasi... what's the word I'm looking for? More like an Arabian Nights, kind of like he's the same guy. He's kind of a fast talker, kind of a swindler, kind of a thief, definitely a thief. But he's a little more suave and a little bit more like elegant and romantic, sort of this romantic Arabian Nights type of guy. And then my Zero, I really picture my Zero is a lot more like Bruce Willis in Armageddon. He, kind of like the construction worker. yeah, I really kind of see my Zero as a Bruce Willis type, where he's a construction worker, but his ability to be persuasive and to talk and use his person skills to move the story forward, that's a real skill that he has. But then when things get really rough in the heart of the adventure, that's when Asilo takes over. And Asilo here in the nightclub, he just doesn't say very much. He's just like, drink, thirsty. He speaks in one-word sentences. But once the heat is on in the adventure and it's, life or death with every second, all of a sudden Zero doesn't have time to speak his long-winded sentences, and his long-winded sentences aren't going to save their asses. So when the danger kicks in, all of a sudden Asilo speaks in, medium-like sentences and says, look out, we got to run, hide in here. He actually speaks in 3, 4, 5, 6-word sentences, and with the aptitude and street smarts that will get them out of the situation alive. Where if Zero was on his own, he's good at talking himself into the problem, but not so good at surviving once the danger starts. So that's the kind of the fun dynamic of the trio. Rick is an inexperienced kid with a lot of knowledge and information. Zero is a professional con man who's good at talking, good at starting an adventure, but doesn't really know how to finish it. And then Zero is the strong silent type. Asilo is the strong silent type that when everything's on the line, that's when he really shines. So that's those are your Dungeons and Dragons adventure party. And then there's the dog Hunter. And the dog has an interesting role to play because he's also a little bit like the innocence. He represents innocence. So, obviously Rick loves the dog. And he's like, oh, this is going to be great, boy. We're going to go outside. And then as the journey goes on, Zero loves the dog. But as with a lot of Clark Ashton Smith stories, it doesn't have a happy ending, And so the dog represents that point of view of innocence, where, the dog didn't ask to be put in this situation. The dog wasn't part of the decision-making process. And so, yeah, both Rick and the dog represent different levels of sort of innocence, naivete. And then Zero represents kind of hubris. And then Asilo represents the kind of Conan the Barbarian, the strong, silent type, who is actually often the smartest person in the room. Maybe not the fastest talker, but he's got the best instincts for survival and the noblest intentions of anybody. So that's a little chit chat about the characters. And we're really excited that we got funded. Really excited to bring it together. Most of the art is done. I'm still doing finishes on, about 5, 6, 7 more pages. And we got this incredible epilogue from Zaid Comics, which is part of the story that had always been planned. It was in the original script, but I wanted Matt to draw it live, on camera and sort of like make that part of the campaign. But, that didn't pan out. But on the other hand, wow, what we got from Jeremy, it's top notch. It is so high quality and so absolutely fulfills what the last 4 pages of the book needed to be. And it's nothing, I gave him the same storyboards I would have given Matt, but he did it in a style that dovetails with Matt's art, but also when it needs to, it blossoms completely into what Jeremy does in his own way of rendering. So it's a treat. It's a treat that right at the end you get this sort of zap of a different sort of look that flows seamlessly out of the first look, but then when it hits you, it hits you. And those pages are, I should, Johnny, you're so right. Why don't I never think of this? Because I'm not a professional salesperson of my own comic. But yes, you're so right. You're absolutely, I'm fine. Boop, boop, beep. All right, hold on. Let me grab the link. You're so right, Johnny. All right, here we go. Okay, the link is in the chat. If you haven't back it already. Now that I'm getting you so excited about it. Here, maybe I'll even tease a people. Yep. See everything. Yeah, you're so right. But I might tease a couple of these pages right now that Jeremy did. If you want to find them on Twitter, I sent a couple of them to Rob Willis, because I feel like Rob Willis is another person who can render at this insane level. Not everybody can render at this level. And Jeremy, I think straight out of the gate, showed that he can. And so I sent it to Rob, and I was just like, hey, there's a new kid in town. Check this out, you know? And Rob wrote back something like, you know, impressive, most impressive, you know? Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys, because I'm sort of tired of drawing for a minute. I'll also show you this drawing I was doing earlier tonight. I tried to do a drawing of Conan, and then it started to look like Keanu Reeves as I was drawing it. And then I realized that I did want to make this drawing for Don Chin's Beard Zerker of Conan the Barbarian mixed with, you know, King Kull, who was like another iteration of Conan, sort of, by the same creator. So maybe this drawing will turn into that. King Kull. All right, I don't see the link. Where is it? Oh, here it is. So just take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to sneak peek a couple of the pages by Jeremy. Forgive me if I boomer this up a little bit. I'm going to do my best. All right, take a look at this. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I feel like if people read comics, horror comics, Bronze Age horror comics, like House of Secrets, Chamber of Secrets, House of Mystery, whatever those things were called, those were all based on pulp, you know, and pulp is the root of what I'm doing too. And so, yeah, that kind of art style is wonderful. All right, let me see if I can bring you these secret pages from Jeremy. All right, are you looking at this? Can you see that? So look at that, if you will. I don't think I can make it any bigger. Let me try. Oh yeah, there we go. So look at that. Yeah, so what happens here is, like, you know, when you see these final really disturbing images, it's like all of a sudden it's all too clear. Yeah, isn't it, Johnny? It's sick. It's like, and the effect we're going for is, you know, the monster, you know, in a horror movie or whatever, seeing the monster is the end of the mystery, right? So you can't, my favorite example, and I made a video about this, is the Wampa in The Empire Strikes Back. In the original Empire Strikes Back, you never even see the Wampa. You see one swinging arm, you see a jump scare when it's face, and you see kind of a shambling silhouette of a white furry beast, and that's it. In the special edition, when they remade it, they gave you, before the Wampa attacks, they gave you a full camera body shot of the entire Wampa while he eats a bloody chicken leg. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool that you could do that, but the whole point of a horror movie is you don't show the monster, right? It's scarier before you see the monster. Once you show the monster, you've already played a big card, and you've got to keep the audience scared, but you've already done your biggest reveal. And so the monster in our book, you know, is able to absorb biological matter and then transform itself into that. So the monster has no shape. The monster can be liquid. The monster can grow a tentacle if it needs a tentacle. It can grow wings if it needs wings. So the whole time it's chasing Zero and Asilo through the woods, it doesn't have a form, you know? It has a tentacle 1 minute, has a claw the next minute, and they can't get a good look at it because it's right behind them and they're not going to turn around and look at it. Exactly like the Thing. And, you know, the story that I'm writing, September Zeros by Clark Ashton Smith, I believe it was written in 1929. And Who Goes There, which is the story that The Thing was based on, was written in 1938. So they're the same generation. That's the whole point. It's like the pulp writers of the 30s, whether it's, Clark Ashton Smith, in 1929, 1930 with September Zeros, or H.P. Lovecraft, the Shoggoth. The whole thing is that it is the Shoggoth. The Shoggoth that H.P. Lovecraft invented in the Mountains of Madness is a shape-shifting creature that can manifest any part of anything it absorbs, And so I think that when Smith wrote this, he was having this character to be a Shoggoth. The monster is a Shoggoth. And so, yeah, The Thing didn't come out in 1982 like people think, There was a comic book adaptation in 1976, which I read 1,000,000 times growing up. I read this comic book adaptation of The Thing 1,000,000 times. It was so good. It was in Whitman Comics, and it was so good. And then, of course, there was the Howard Hawks movie, The Thing from Another World. And then there was the original short story. So the evolution of the story of The Thing is 1938, short story, 1959, I want to say, black and white movie, 1976, comic book adaptation, then John Carpenter, 1982. So anyway, back to the Shoggoth. So what we do is, you never really see the Shoggoth. You never really see the horror it can do. And then when you hit the last 4 pages, then all of a sudden we just show you. It's like, oh my God. It's so much more disgusting than you were ready for, It's the final jump scare, And the precedent for that I like to think of is in the movie Carrie, when like Carrie's dead and the town goes back and the girl who was mean to her goes to put flowers on the grave, and then the hand shoots up out of the dirt and grabs her, right? And the audience jumps because you thought that that Carrie was neutralized, right? The threat was neutralized, but it isn't. And then Friday the 13th, you think Jason is neutralized, and then person goes to the canoe, and in the last 2 seconds of the movie he jumps out again. And Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, I believe, after they think everything's neutralized, I think the mom gets pulled through a window or something. But anyway, that's a classic thing in horror movies, is that you finish the story and you do an epilogue, and then the epilogue, things are better now, and then there's one last jump scare. And so I do my own version of that, except, yeah, exactly, you don't want to spell everything out. But again, the challenge is with anything is like, well, how do you draw a shape-shifting monster that has no shape? But here what we show is that once he's absorbed the humans, then he can have human body parts too. So it ends on a kind of like a Frankensteinian mode. And then a lot of things that Zero said earlier in the book, you kind of like, oh, really? That's how it went. Okay. So, I am giving some spoilers here, but hey, you're going to buy the book, you're going to love it. And the visual impact of the last 4 pages are not going to be lost, especially because, like you're saying, Johnny, there's going to be like this idea that you were seeing things through this gritty, scratchy film. And then in the final 2 pages, when we show you the monster for real, it's very clear. All of a sudden you suddenly have 4K HD quality, and you see all the horrific things about the monster, in super clarity. And then the book's over. So you leave them with that final jump scare. So yeah, I definitely sort of see the whole book like a roller coaster ride. You've got a slow build as you climb up, get to know the characters, set them into danger, and then once the monster is unleashed, that's the roller coaster racing down the track, Then you come to rest and you think, oh, the ride's over, and then we get it with the final scare, which happens in these 2 pages. Well, thanks everybody. This wasn't supposed to be a silent stream. I didn't even know if I was going to do this stream or not because we had our stream already on Monday, but I do like to just keep the time slot and do my thing. So I hope you enjoyed watching me just chip away at a pretty complicated page. And maybe I'll show you one more thing before you go. I'll show you this picture of Conan I was doing that ended up looking like Keanu Reeves. So hold on. And Johnny, you'll get to see an actual thing that I drew, and you'll see that, yeah, I'm not quite in Matt's league yet. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to say goodnight, everybody, right after I show you this picture that I was working on earlier today, which was supposed to be Conan, and then it started to look like Keanu Reeves, and then I said, well, wait a minute, why don't I actually... So this is something I drew, you know? And you're like, yeah, it's not as good as Matt. But then I started to sort of look like Conan meets Keanu Reeves, and then I started to give him an axe. Maybe I could make a Beard Zerker fan art piece, you know? Have this guy saying, whoa. Well, thanks, Johnny. Thanks very much. Another thing I try to do with this show is just produce something, you know, produce a piece of art every time we go on. And but since we're in the next phase of Tales of Zero, I also just need to be working on that 24 hours a day to finish up the last couple pages. But thank you. Twitter is still up. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. I'm going to close out this broadcast. I maybe will post my picture of... Well, you didn't see it? Oh, of course you didn't see it. Hold on. Hold on. No, just a minute. Just a minute. Of course you didn't. All right. Here we go. There we go. So it's sort of like, I don't know if you can see that. Sort of like, kind of get it without the glare. Yeah, it's getting a lot of glare. Well, anyway, there's a lot of glare there, but you see it's sort of, it's not done yet, but it's sort of Conan. But then I was like, no, make it King Kull, give him a big axe, make it into like something. So yeah, it just, I did pencils, then I just worked over the inks until I was like, yeah, you may have pushed it a little too far, but we'll see. So there's just, that was my piece that I would have done if we had, I could guess, like, you know, maybe I would have done Conan or something for the prompt, but. All right. Well, thanks everyone for spending this time with me. And what's the name of my artwork? What's the name of my art? Nothing. Well, if you follow me on Twitter, oh, what's the name of my arc? My comic, maybe you're looking for. It's in the. If you go up a little bit, it's Tales of Zero. I'll drop it in the chat one more time. Thank you, Cutie Patootie. Appreciate that. Appreciate your interest in what I'm doing. And yeah, I'll drop it in the chat right now. And it's a good night. So Cutie Patootie. This is the crowdfunding book that we just fulfilled, but it's on demand. It's a sci-fi pulp horror comic. Some you know, illegal archaeology in an alien jungle, and then they awaken a sleeping monster. You know, good stuff. Highbrow entertainment is what we like to call it. But no, it's fun. It's great visual storytelling, great characters, and it's like a B movie for your mind. So Dootsy, Cutie Patootie, check it out. It's on Indiegogo. There's a link. But I usually close up my stream right at 1 o'clock in the morning, my time. And thank you, Johnny. Thank you, El Gargoyle, for being with us. Apex, thank you for being with us. And it's been a nice one. I appreciate all you guys. Edwin the Ace, everybody who chimed in. And I'm glad you like to watch art streams. We're usually here Wednesday, 11:30, and usually I have a bunch of people drawing with me. But today I just did it solo because we had our big show on Monday. So peace, everybody. Take care and have a good night.